I will say this. Getting out of the Vietnam War through Daddy's connections and then not living up to your end of the bargain is probably a form of cowardice. Here's another misnomer. Heroes who died for their country. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey said that changing the name of Newark Airport to Liberty International Airport would be a way of honoring the more than 3,000 heroes who died for their country in the World Trade Center. Pardon me for pointing this out, folks, but stock traders, clerks, receptionists, cooks, waiters, and building maintenance people in the World Trade Center didn't die for their country. They died because they went to work. Not one of them would have shown up for work that day if you had told them they would die as a result. Try to get your heroes straight. Not everyone who died in 9/11 was a hero. Hero is a very special word. That's why we reserve it for certain special people. Not every fireman and policeman who was on duty that day was a hero. The ones who risked or lost their lives trying to rescue people were heroes. They acted heroically. The others probably did a good job and were very helpful. But heroes? If everyone's a hero, then the word doesn't mean much anymore. And sooner or later we'll have to give the real heroes, the heroic ones, a new name to distinguish them from the rest of the pack. Too bad superheroes is already taken. Would have been perfect. But relax, folks. If I know us, mega hero can't be too far over the horizon. Although, to be honest, I kind of like the alliteration in hyperhero. Let's shoot for that. These anti-war demonstrators are really unimpressive people. They're against war? How groundbreaking. What a courageous stand. Listen, angry asshole, pick something difficult, like religion. Why don't you get out in the street and start marching around against religion, something that's really harmful to mankind? War is simply nature's way of doing things, of keeping down the count. Religion is the problem. Get rid of religion, and you've done the planet a favor. So how about getting out there next weekend and marching around with a sign that says, "Ho, ho, ho, religion must go"? Come on, protesters, show some balls. I can't understand what it is people like about John Wayne movies. I think they suck. I find him inauthentic. Sometimes when I'm clicking around the channels, looking for the least objectionable program, I come across a movie scene in progress. It's in black and white, it's clearly a Western, and it looks old enough that it could actually be fun to watch. I see guys like John Ireland, Barton McLean, Ward Bond, Anthony Quinn, Charles Bronson, Dan Duryea, Thomas Mitchell, Lee Van Cleef, and Brian Donlevy shooting each other, drinking, and playing cards, and I get this great nostalgic feeling. Then John Wayne rides up, and I have to reach for the remote. It's a fucking shame. He spoils war movies in the same way. By the way, I feel the same about Jimmy Stewart. These people should not have been allowed to spoil so many perfectly good movies. Good afternoon, folks. This is Pedro Fleming. Welcome to Don't Ask the Doctor, America's only medical advice program based on questions that are not pertinent to the field of medicine. Here is our medical expert, Dr. Ned Gittles. How are you today, Doctor?
Not bad, Pedro, considering all the sick people I see. How about you?
Well, I have a malignant tumor inside my nose.
Don't ignore that. Take some pills. Do you have any pills at home?
Sure, lots of different kinds.
Good, take some of them. That's my advice.
And good advice it is. Well, let's get started. Here's a question from Elaine Trickler in Frog Balls, Tennessee. She writes, "Doctor, my car seems to hesitate a little when I accelerate from a red light, and I'm afraid it will stall. What should I do?"
Don't ask me.
That's right. Don't ask the doctor. How would he know? That's obviously a question for a mechanic.
Righty-ho.
For having her question used on Don't Ask the Doctor, Elaine Trickler will receive a free rectal thermometer by RectoSwell, the last word in rectal thermometers. See the new RectoSwell line of monogrammed thermometers at leading rectal equipment dealers in your area. Try Orifice Max or Brown's Personal Items for inside the rectum.
Recto swell is a good one, Pedro. Sometimes I use mine when I'm cooking a turkey.
Great idea, Doctor. Well, folks, that's it for today. Tune in again tomorrow when Dr. Ned Gittles will answer the question, how can I increase my soybean yield? On America's favorite medical advice program, Don't Ask the Doctor. Stay tuned for Video Magazine as beauty expert Mavis Davis shows a young albino girl how to keep her hair from turning prematurely brown. You're tuned to Elaine and Joe's Radio Network. I object to the use of usage when it's used in place of use. There's nothing wrong with using use. It's been in use a long time, and I'm used to it. It isn't that usage isn't useful. I simply have no use for its current usage. The use of usage should be consistent with good usage. I'd prefer to say my use of the Internet rather than my usage. If I meant it collectively, I might say American usage of the Internet. But so far, I haven't meant that. And as I'm using space on usage, I'll use some more on utilize. Using utilize instead of utilizing use is one of those attempts to make things sound more important than they really are. Sports announcers do that all the time. They misapply big words. He's not utilizing all his skills. They don't understand that an athlete doesn't utilize his skills. He uses them. The coach utilizes his players, but the players use their skills. Don't use utilize when you should be utilizing use. Another sports announcer crime is the use of the word differential when they mean difference. There was a 12-point differential at halftime. No, sorry, there was a 12-point difference at halftime. Differential is a mechanical or mathematical term, and by mathematical I don't mean Knicks 55, Pacers 43. Difference and differential are different. Go Knicks. It also annoys me that people sometimes claim to see a linkage when they actually see a link. I think link is fine. Linkage reminds me of my car's transmission. In fact, I think my car's linkage is located somewhere near the differential. Stoppage is another ungainly word. The most frequently heard euphemism for a labor strike is work stoppage. Apparently labor strike sounded too Marxist for loyal Americans, but stoppage sounds like an obstructed bowel, and stoppage is much too close to sewage for my comfort. Usage, linkage, and stoppage remind me of outage. This is a word I simply dislike. It's an awkward, ugly word. Outage. It sounds like something that's done when a gay person's identity is revealed. But actually, its most frequent use is in describing a loss of electricity, power outage. We used to say power failure, but I guess Americans don't like to admit failure, even when it's manifest. Regardless, we ought to find a better way to answer the question, what happened to the lights? By the way, I recently heard the following sentence on CNN. Because of high winds, about 250,000 people in New England are without power. And I thought, gee, when you think about it, about 275 million people in the United States are without power. They just aren't aware of it. When reporting a bombing by some radical group, the news media will often inform us that no one has claimed responsibility. Why is this wording used instead of no one has taken credit? To save the feelings of the dead people's relatives? The people who did the bombing surely see it as a credit. Let them have their moment in the sun. Look at all the trouble they went to. Here's another gratuitous editorial appendage often heard on the TV news coverage of a fire or an accident. Luckily, no one was hurt. Or the good news is no one was injured. I consider those to be editorial comments. After all, I may not think it's such good news that no one was hurt. I'm entitled to decide for myself whether or not injuries to strangers are good or bad news. I may prefer hearing, it's a shame no one was hurt. It's entirely possible. Please save the commentary for the editorial page. And I could also do without these grim, mock-serious facial expressions and sad voices the television news people affect when reporting one of these so-called tragedies. Diane Sawyer is one of the worst offenders. She lowers her voice dramatically and puts on this really sad face and tells you all about the baby who died in a washing machine. If you weren't listening carefully, you'd think the goddamn tragedy happened to her. Is that good? I don't think so. Just let me have the news, please. I'll get Meryl Streep to handle the sad faces. Another empty sentiment concerning the death of people. You hear it on the news and you hear it in real life. Our thoughts are with the family. What exactly does that mean? Sympathies I can understand. Prayers, as ineffective as they are, I can understand.